You could say Servant is the best card in the deck, but the card that searches out Servant probably is pretty good too, and you can search for any other card as well.
It does not only search out Servant, it also buffs Servant so hard.
Yeah.
And now there is the card that you just negated with Crescendo added to the hand. Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. Those are so many M's in one name. Mighty Master of Magic.
You were saying that the
Mighty Master of Magic.
That the Mighty Master is not actually as good versus the pure Orchestral deck because their spells and traps aren't really relevant. So maybe the plan for Marvin right here is to actually go into 2 of them, so he can overlay them into the Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
And then get Odd Eyes Vortex out by Link Summoning into Appaloosa then maybe, because Appaloosa is pretty good versus pure Orchestral, you have to say.
That would be super strong. But also, special summoning it out from the field if he can would be really strong to get rid of the Babel and then being able to negate the Babel next turn if Alexandre decides to add it to his hand.
Yeah. Oh, and look at that. Endymion scale effect is being used. He wants to pop both the Galatea and the Babel, and he also pointed on his own Lambda. He wants to pop Lambda as well to get rid of it. So he has space in his extra monster zone, I guess.
Okay, so wonder what that's all about.
Okay, and then he passes. Did he somehow play around anything by having that removed right there? I was thinking like maybe super polymerization, but he already has 2 darks. Like he has 4 darks on the field, so that's not really helping. But even if super polymerization comes down there, it's not really effective at all because you still have 2 big monsters pumping. And if that Endymion is destroyed by battle, you can search for a normal spell again, and then it's mastery all over again. And at some point, you just win the grind game with the deck, which is pretty fine.
And there we have him again. Gizmek Orochi, der Schlangotron Himmelsschlitzer. That's beautiful German name.
His beautiful German name, as you say. And now he's considering to actually negate the effect with the Jackal King. That's what he's doing. He negates. But now looking on the side of Marvin, he actually ended on one counter, which can be crucial because even if he wants to negate a spell card now, he will be left without a counter afterwards because he will have to bounce the card that has a counter. And by negating the spell card activation, no card will be having counters. So if there is a spell card from Alexandre now, I would be pretty sure that Marvin would let it through to actually gain counters on all of his Jackal Kings. What spell card could there be?
Raigeki.
If it is Raigeki, then okay, but you still keep your Master then, which is not so useful. I think you have to negate Raigeki thinking about it.
You know which card would also be good? Dark Hole.
Dark Hole could solve some problems here too.
Back in Zodiac format, boys. Okay, so Alexandre is frantically looking through his graveyard to see if there are any options. But not playing with a skeleton is such a hard task with Orcus. And oh, he can negate that with
then he will be left without any spell counters.
But I mean,
you don't have 2 for Jackal King anyways, correct?
Yeah. So I think, and he gets another counter on the other.
Oh yeah, of course, he absolutely gets. Yeah, true. So he has the other one now. So it was just a trade, and the monster on board is not really important because you already have 2 big beaters on the field, which can provide pressure.
Do you scoop that now? Would you scoop at this point? Oh, he makes his opponent's monsters bigger. I don't know if that's the right way.
So the Jackal King does even trump the Endymion now. 2 really, really big beaters.
Is that like the right way to get out of a bad situation by pushing your opponent's monsters' attack points?
I would assume not. But look, Alexandre now having the chance to look through his deck.
He doesn't have any other Orcus monsters, right? So he can't even summon something with Harporo.
Yeah, and he probably realizes that now. Okay, so he's putting a counter somewhere.
I love how the Endymion deck plays, because back in the Pendulum days, I was really a big fan of the deck, where you played Odd Eyes and you didn't do that much extra deck stuff. You know, not all the Guard Dragon combos and all those shenanigans. No, you just summon Pendulum monsters and sat on them. And this is really how this deck plays. I enjoy that a lot.
It is. And also, like, bringing back the old mechanic of spell counters is really, really cool, because that hasn't been seen for a while. He's also playing that really old card, the Magical Citadel of Endymion, the field spell. And nobody really was caring about this card a lot. But in this deck, it really shines because it just can stock all your spell counters on it, and if a card is destroyed on the field, it just takes over the spell counters to itself.
Look at that. Alexandre is left on one card in his deck. This Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentron Sky Slasher. I think the English name is the Serpentron Sky Slasher. Is really his last
stands
resort.
there as his card in hand. It's now on the
makes
field.
sense. I could just read.
I guess that makes sense, yeah. But okay, he got rid of one Jackal King now, but as you said, he has no resources to play. So
and how does he win a game like in 2 turns from this point?
Right, Marvin could even be fine just passing, and he has a lot more to offer than that, we know. So Alexandre really not in a great situation. He uses the effect of Barbel. I'm curious. He could have negated that, but
he wants to keep the.
Then he can actually negate that if he wants to.
And there are basically no cards that he's fearing in the graveyard of Alexandre, because as I have already said a million times, basically, there is no skeleton in this game for Alexandre, and that hurts the deck because, I mean, Harp Horror is maybe the main key card, but it really does not work without reborning your Orcus cards. And there's another Spellbound Mastery.
There's another Mastery, and that must be the time for Alexandre to pick up his cards as he does.
That is the point where you say, okay, nope, I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. Let's pick up the cards and the Cytics.
Do you think he would have actually won the game, not banishing the skeleton?
Oh, wait, not banishing the... I mean, he had to go for the Gizmek.
Yeah.
There was no other way. It was like really unfortunate for him that he drew into it.
Of course.
It wasn't unfortunate that he drew into it, because if he didn't banish the skeleton, it would have been great.
Yeah.
I think
exactly.
that he really
Do you think he could have won them?
He would have definitely made the turn of Marvin a lot harder, and I maybe think that he couldn't even Pendulum Summon.
Potentially, that's true, yeah.
Because the 2 disruptions could lead to the point where... No, not really.
Still, Marvin had a pretty good hand.
Yeah, I mean, he could still go Servant and the monster, and then still the Crescendo had to be dropped.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, okay, so Marvin would have won that.
Yeah, but
not regardless, because he ended up on a board that was rather mediocre. And that was enough to beat the skeletonless Orchest variant.
Yeah.
But if he had access to like another Dingirsu or summoning Longirsu and sending away something, summoning it over monsters, and then sending those away, like one Jackal King in the middle zone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So but we already looked over their sideboards a little before the match, and we realized that sideboard of Alexandre could really hurt Marvin. So let's just tell the people what we can expect from his sideboard.
So he plays Typhoon, Mind Control, Twin Twisters, Ghost Sister, and Spooky Dogwood. This is something that we have seen a lot from French players. They really like their Dogwood.
Yeah, and the first card you mentioned actually is like the most exotic next to Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood at the moment, because not a lot of people are running Typhoon.
Bayraktar? What?
Nice jokes there. But that Typhoon really shines with his Pendulum. It can really, really hurt Marvin in turn 1.
Yeah, indeed. It can't even be negated by Jackal.
Yeah.
He has to draw it early, though. He has to have it for the Servant. Yeah. And as you already said, like Ogre could really hurt the deck. Typhoon can as well.
That is right. But do you board into Typhoon going first as well? Surely, right?
Yeah.
That obviously risks your chances of opening a bricky hand to not get into combo if you side in so many cards.
Yeah. Do you necessarily want to go first? Because his extra deck is really heavy. His side deck is really heavily relying on going second. He plays Mind Control, Typhoon, Twin Twisters. I wouldn't side in going second. But
not really, no.
He has Gameciel as well. The nice French name on the deck list. Gameciel Tortue Marine Kaiju. I love this.
Do you think that he wants to risk playing through a whole combo board of Marvin there? I mean, that wasn't the perfect board, as you already said.
He could have in the last round, even though I still don't understand why he didn't go for Appaloosa and then just started negating dangers with the Jackals. Because if he had Appaloosa, I would have understood it.
Yeah, then he could have also negated with the Appaloosa.
Yeah.
That would have been better, I guess.
You're such an Appaloosa.
But speaking about sideboarding, let's just have a quick look at Marvin's deck. You said we could see some sideboard cards coming in being back row, for example, Typhoon. Or do you even keep, when you go first versus the spell deck now, do you keep in the Typhoon in your main deck? Do you keep it in your hand in turn 1? Because you can activate it from your hand if your opponent has 2 face-up spell or trap cards?
I think so, because there isn't... It's Pendulum. They need 2 face-up cards.
Yeah, right.
So you don't risk getting Mystical Space Typhoon to keep it old school.
Yeah.
So the game is starting, and we will see who goes first. But why, there's a trap card in the hand of Marvin. Why don't you tell us what trap cards he is siding? Because I don't think there should be a main deck card. I see Red Reboot.
Yes, we have Red Reboot as one. That's a pretty classic one for Pendulum decks because they're so good in OTK and you want to have that Red Reboot for going second. But do you want to have Red Reboot versus the Orchestral deck though? I mean, you can counter the counter trap. So it's a 1-for-1 trade basically. So you already baited this out. Cool. But there's no really other negation you could target with Red Reboot. So I'm curious on whether he sides that in. But it could also be the Impermanence, which surely is a good card to side in versus the Orchestral deck, throwing it on a Nightmare.
Yes, definitely. Oh, we see the hard draw Babel, so Jackalope is being activated. I love this deck. This is our favorite matchup, right? We have my favorite deck on the left side and your favorite deck on the right side.
That is actually true, yeah. Now let's see how good Marvin is at hitting dangerous.
He isn't really good at hitting dangerous because giving your opponent the discard of Harp Horror is not what you want to see.
Definitely not. But Marvin lets that happen for now. We can see the cards in hand of Marvin, and Marvin actually has infinite impermanence in his hand. It is impermanence.
And another Time Gazer Magician, again.
Oh, he loves this card.
I don't think he does.
It loves him.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty one-sided relationship.
Yeah, maybe it is. So, do you even negate that? Because there's already Harp Horror in the graveyard?
I think you negate the Galatea.
Probably, right? Because it just hinders him from getting out the negation you're fearing.
And most of the time, the Galatea is going to be summoned in the main monster zone and then activates the effect after summoning the Girsu over Long Girsu in the combo, if he even goes for it.
True.
Because he has Babel Hard Draw, not Babel Hate Draw. Then the Impermanence can't even be countered by Eagle Booster.
Yeah, you're right. That plays around Eagle Booster. And we saw Alexandre playing the Sky Striker engine with Engage and Hornet Drones. Is he playing Eagle Booster as well?
Yeah.
Oh, he is. Okay, so that perfectly makes sense.
Yeah, and now what I also would like to mention is that as Alexandre has an additional monster, he can go for Dingirsu in his graveyard and then summoning Long Girsu with Babel, with Crescendo, and having the Dingirsu set up in the graveyard.
That is a good setup that Marvin could struggle to play through.
But versus... I just heard this but loud. That was nice. Shouldn't do that again. So, what Marvin could give the edge is that Longirsu has two zones that are pointing towards his opponent.
Yeah.
And even though he can quick effect remove a card, that's a lot of zones.
Pendulum Summoning profits from that definitely, I would say.
if you just play like one level 4 or lower dragon monster and your opponent has Longirsu on the field, then you can you can go for LP and special summon out something from your deck.
Yeah. And looking at the hand of Marvin, we see that he has Jackal King and Cerberus. So Master Cerberus would usually search for the Jackal King to special summon itself out. But in Marvin's deck, that's not a thing he has to do because he has more targets for his Mythical Beast engine. He's also playing the little brother of the Jackal King. He's playing the Jackal.
Yep. Impermanence on Galatea, as we predicted.
Yeah, that's happening. That is happening. And the Jackal can actually collect counters for spell activations, and then if you tribute him and remove 3 counters from the field, you can just special out a Mythical Beast from the deck, which is pretty powerful too. And I think in this matchup specifically, you actually want to have that Master Cerberus on the field, and you even want to use the Master Cerberus on field because it can actually banish a monster from the field, removing 4 spell counters, and that's pretty good versus Dingirsu.
Yep. That's one way to get rid of this big boy.
Yeah, it is. And so maybe you want to get into 2 Master Cerberus because he has Jackal King in hand, Master Cerberus in hand, so he searches for the Jackal with the Master Cerberus, then being able to special summon 1 out with the Jackal and 1 with the Jackal King. So it's like a production of both Jackal brothers. There is the Dingirsu. Did he just pass? Oh no, he just that would have been interesting. He attaches with Dingirsu.
That sounds like a movie company, the Jackal Brothers production.
It does, absolutely. Another option he could go searching with Master Cerberus is Basilisk.
He can't summon Appaloosa.
Oh, can he?
No, he used Dark Effects. Orchestral Effects.
You're right.
Oh, Topologic Bomber Dragon it's going to be. That's of course better than going for Longirsu, who gives your opponent 2 zones. Yeah, there we go.
Ooh.
And Bomber Dragon is a tough one to deal.
It is. Bomber Dragon plus Babel. That's like also a standard opening for the Orcus deck.
Yeah.
It was performed in like a non-standard way by Alexandre there, because usually you just have normal combo and then you link away the Long Gyesu and the Ding Gyesu for the topologic Bomber Dragon. He used a lot more monsters for that.
His grave is packed now. He has every single card he wants to access in his deck, in his graveyard, which kind of makes the Nightmare in his graveyard a bit worse, basically.
Yeah, sure.
But wow.
Let's see. Oh, okay, and that is another card he is actually playing. It is Garuda, the mythical beast. He's not playing it in the main deck, but he is sideboarding it. And that Garuda in the scale basically is a back row destruction when it destroys itself. So putting it into the scale will allow you to actually force out all the grave effects of Alexandre, because he will have to respond to that, otherwise the Babel will be gone and then there are no quick effects anymore. Well, that could hurt him a lot. So that Garuda comes in quite handy there.
I think Alexandre didn't see that card coming at all.
Absolutely not. Garuda is so versatile too. Like
he looks really stressed about it.
Look, he has to read the card because he does not know it.
He looks super stressed about it. And I think he's gonna look even more stressed after he finds out what this card actually does.
Because on top of the cool scale effect, the monster effect is pretty cool as well, because it basically is a hand trap. If you can afford to keep that card in your hand at the end of the turn and have it for your opponent's turn, then you can remove 3 counters from the field when your opponent is special summoning a monster. Then you special summon him and bounce all the monsters you just summoned with that special summon. That's a plus interruption, which can be very good versus, for example, Orchestral.
Indeed.
Going first, it is pretty good.
Wow. Alexandre is not looking to... But look how long this game took already. Game 1. Now we have 7 minutes on the clock left. And those players aren't playing too slow.
They aren't.
This is such an intense game. And now, oh wow, he has to start it off already.
You have to. You have no chance. And look, he chains both. He chains the Harper, he chains the Nightmare. But what does that mean? It does mean that he cannot trigger the Skeleton anymore, right?
I mean,
because he has to send it from there.
He has Skeleton in his graveyard.
Oh, he has Skeleton in the grave already. That's good for him, I have to say. But he did not actually announce it there.
Yeah, but he... I mean, how does it help him? Let's be honest.
On activation, you just do it, and then you have to send away with Dingyesu, so you keep your Babel.